we live in the world of social media, and you see all the success of artists and the people that you follow, and you're like, oh, well, I can do that. Like if they're crushing, I can crush it. But they don't know all the years and time you have to put in with no response, like absolutely no response to your music, and just like doing it for you and not like wanting that product immediately, because it takes time.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Headliner Mindset Podcast. Today's guest has exploded onto the techno scene and is making a name for himself as one of the fastest rising acts in the industry. Releasing his first track less than 3 years ago, he is already getting booked at major festivals like EDC and selling out shows all over the country. This is Kill Script.
Yo, what up? Happy to be here.
My brother.
It's been a sec, dude.
Yeah, been way too long, man. It's really good to see you.
Good to see you too.
First things first, we have to do our biannual check-in. Have you been staying out of trouble? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing well?
Yeah. It's been good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Just to give some context, you were a student of mine at Icon Collective when I was a music business teacher there and teaching Art of Flow. I know I'm not supposed to pick favorites, but your class was probably my most favorite class I ever had. Like, you guys just had a special energy about that specific cohort. Like, y'all got along so well with each other. The energy was just so rad. And you were also only like 17 at the time, I think, when you started Icon, weren't you?
Yeah. I graduated high school 6 months early and was just like, I'm going to LA. I'm going to figure this out. And luckily I landed on that class, and we're all just brothers. It's so good.
Yeah, you lucked out, man. Do you still keep in touch with all those guys?
Yeah, a good amount of them. A lot of them aren't really doing music anymore, but the people that are, and even the people that aren't, that I'm still connected with. It's been good. It's like a great support team too. So
that's good, man. Well, I've always looked at you like a little brother. And so I'd say it's like every 6 months or so, we have a little check-in, and I'm like, okay, you're a big rock star now. You're touring. You're you're living the life. I'm like, all right, I'm always going to make sure you're staying in line. Gotta watch out for you, bro.
I appreciate it. I know. I love our little talks. It's always always awesome when I see you come in.
Yeah, man. But you have such a cool story, and I'm really excited to share that with the audience today, because you just talked about how you graduated high school 6 months early to go to Icon. Like, I get the impression that you really knew what you wanted to do at a young age, and you just had like a clear vision. Like, when did you know you wanted to be an artist and that was what you wanted to do?
Oh, I don't know about the artist part. That came later. Really where it started was being a drummer all my life. Big part of my upbringing, my dad being an artist, touring around the West Coast when he was younger. So I kind of always had that DNA to kind of go into that. And he really wanted me to be a guitar player, but I was like, every time I went to go get guitar lessons, there was a drum set sitting there, electric drum kit, and I was like, that's me. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, way more fun.
And so, being in bands in middle school and high school, and really kind of finding myself as a musician, finding out what bands I like, what styles I like, kind of playing everything and kind of just really molding myself. And then one of my buddies came to me with Skrillex, and at the time I was doing like drum covers on YouTube. Like, I would only get like 5 views, but for me, it was like so rewarding for me to see myself like on a video. And yeah, so just doing that and learning more about electronic music and playing to that kind of stuff, because it's so much fun playing a acoustic drum kit to electronic music, because it's just, it doesn't sound the same. Like, if you play to a Guns N' Roses song or whatever, it sounds like it. Yeah. But when you're playing to a electronic song, it's totally different.
Totally. I never thought about that, but you're so right.
Yeah, it's just you get a different feeling and a different kind of energy.
Yeah. I grew up as a drummer too. That's why we get along. That's why we're brothers. And
we're close. We're both Bay Area people.
That's true. NorCal drummer kids.
Fuck yes, 100%. But yeah, so, was a big part of that early exploration.
Yeah. And so did you know that you wanted to do music like professionally? Were you just like, this is my lane? This is, you're like, were you considering other options or going to, a normal college at all? Or were you just like, no, music is what I want to do?
Yeah, so that's a funny story. So, yeah, I always wanted to do music, be a part of the music industry. It wasn't always being an artist or even being in a band. It was like, originally it was just, I want to play drums for a living and see where it takes me. So I applied for a 5-week program at Berklee College of Music over in Boston, and it got accepted and got a scholarship for that, and was able to go and for my whole summer between junior and senior year in high school. And I went, and it was like, I went from being one of the best drummers in my area to like one of the worst drummers there.
Yeah, it's humbling, right? Humbling.
Yeah.
There's no joke over there. Berklee's no joke. Kids that like grew up like sight reading music, and you can just do everything on command. Like,
and that's not me. That's not me
neither. Yeah,
I play by ear.
Yeah.
So I go, and then I realized that I was like, wow, I'm the only drummer here that also cares about producing and recording bands. Like, that was also from high school. Like, I was always interested in the more technical stuff with doing the drum videos and everything. So yeah, just being able to kind of link that. I was the only person that was making any kind of music other than drums. And so all these rappers started coming to me at the school they were there for something else, but they also rapped, and they were like, dude, we want you to make us beats. And I was like, sweet, like, I'll do it. And so all 5 weeks, it was like very minimal about drums and mostly about producing for everyone else.
Yeah.
And I got in this like electronic music class, and it was dubbed as electronic mastery or something like that. And I got in, it was like day one, learning how to use a DAW, and I was just way above it at the time versus everyone else. And so the teacher was like, you can just help me with the class, da, 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 da. And then
wait, this was at Berklee? Or
at Berklee, during 5 week.
Yeah.
And
you're like, I already know this shit, bro.
And I didn't want to be cocky, but I was like, this is day one for me. Like, I've already been 3 years into it.
Yeah.
And he was like, you don't want to go here to Berklee. He told me at the end of the 5 week program, he's like,
wow,
you don't want to go to Berklee. You're going to be bored. You want to go to a school in LA. I've heard a bunch of great things about it. And he told me the name Icon. And that night I called and started my kind of process there. So
no way. That is so cool. Like, what an honest person, because it could have been so easy for him to be like, hey, come to Berklee. Like, if they were just trying to get admissions or whatever, but to actually really be honest is so cool. Like, that's a really cool. I hope you go back and find that guy and thank him. Thank you for that decision, whoever you are. Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I've had people that went to Berklee like for full time after high school, and I asked like, do you know this dude? He's this description. Like, I can't remember his name. I don't have any paperwork. Yeah. And they were like, we don't. It's like,
that's cool. He pointed you in the right direction. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. So then you knew where you wanted to go. Like, that was also my impression of you was when you got to Icon, you were also very, very focused, because not everybody was, like some people were there kind of having more fun. It's like anyone that goes to college, like I think anyone that goes to even like a 4-year school, some people are very focused on their academics. A lot of people are kind of just fucking off and partying. I guess probably also being 17 and not being able to go to clubs, like, might have played a role. Yeah.
Everyone went to Space Yacht every Tuesday, and it was me just at home making music. Because I mean, I could have gone. I probably could have got a fake ID and gone, but I never had one. I never went that route. I just was just working. So
you were just grinding the whole time.
Yeah, right across the street, just heads down.
I'm really curious about this question, because to be honest, this is, I think, a big driving force for me and what I do in terms of coaching and helping artists is having the blessing of being a part of Icon for so long. And even my whole history before that, I saw artists get signed to Capitol Records and I saw them get dropped. I saw students sign up for Icon Collective, go through it, and then not really do anything. But then I also saw people that went on to become fucking massively successful. And so the question that I've always had has been like, what's the difference, right? What is it about the people that have gone on to succeed versus the ones that don't necessarily follow through with it? From your perspective, both of us know a bunch of people that aren't necessarily making music anymore, didn't really pop off for them. What do you think is like the biggest difference between the people that maybe have fallen off versus the people that really went off to go do something with themselves?
I think what it is, we live in the world of social media, and, you see all the success, of artists and the people that you follow, and you're like, oh, well, I can do that. Like if they're crushing, I can crush it, you know? But they don't know all the years and time you have to put in with no response, like absolutely no response to your music. And just like doing it for you and not like wanting that product immediately, because it takes time. And the people that I've still am in contact with, you know, their thing was that they were expecting it to happen within a year and it didn't, so that they're just going to move on. That's it. Like, you know, and me, I always looked at it as like, okay, I'm 17, I'm going to school in LA. You know, if I do this for 3 years, I'm going to be 20. If I do this for 10 years, I'll be 27. Like, I'll still have a crap load of time to be working on music. So like, let's just go for it and see what happens. So
how old are you now?
25. So
25.
It's almost been 10 years, which is crazy. Yeah.
And I love that you bring that up, because I kind of gave you maybe a little bit of a misleading intro. I did say, you know, you only released your first track 3 years ago for the Kill Script project.
Yeah.
You haven't been producing for 3 years, right? You've been doing it for, what'd you say, 10 years now?
Yeah. It's been producing for 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, you know, Hades shared the same thing. She just played, you know, celebrating her on the podcast when she played EDC, and we were celebrating that. And she's like, she's like, I've been doing this shit 10 years. You know, same thing.
It's a grind for everyone. It's a constant grind, and not everyone's cut out for it.
Yeah.
And even like, I'm still going, like, I haven't got anywhere near where I want to take this thing either. So it's just the beginning.
Just scratching the surface. Man.
Yeah.
For sure. What kept you going? What's just kept driving you?
I think what it is always wanting to learn something new. And it doesn't just apply to music. I'm a very, when I get uninspired in the studio, I go somewhere else and get inspired somewhere else. Like during COVID, it was building Kill Script and building a mini bike that my dad gave me from when he was a kid. Like, you know, just learning how to take apart an engine. Like, that was, for me, that was like so cool. And then, you know, in that drought of inspiration for music, it like kind of took my attention. But coming back to it, like, I'm just in love with learning and exploring and seeing what's out there, because there's just so much stuff out there. And especially like music by itself is such a small portion of creativity and in the world.
I love that, man. I love that. It's so aligned with the artist's way and the art of flow, you know, that I taught at Icon. But the whole idea that you have a creative well inside of you, and if you're pulling from that well all the time and just in this one space, then it gets tapped eventually. Like, you do run out of inspiration, you do run out of creativity. So to really see yourself as being an artist and a creative person, not just of music, but I'm an artist of life, right? And that all of life is just this creative playground. And where else can I pull from inspiration and get inspired and get lit up? I think that's such a huge point, because, you know, I see so many artists that they want their goal so badly, so they just lock themselves in the studio for 12 hours a day. And then they're like kind of burnt out and kind of miserable. And I'm like, yo, you're not living your life. You need to go get inspired. You need to go live. Like, there's a diminishing rate of return on those hours, where if you're putting in 12 hours, but like 7 of them you're miserable, it's like, that's not really effective, right?
No. Yeah. I mean, I think you actually said it to me like a while ago. It was like, what else do you have in your life? And at the time I couldn't answer it. Like, I didn't have anything else that I had. Everything was music. Everything was how to take it to the next level. And I wasn't even appreciating what was actually happening in that moment. And so I was always just chasing that like next thing. Like, I'm still chasing that, but without, you know, being thankful for the things that are coming in every day.
Yeah. That was back when we did some coaching together, wasn't it? That was around the pandemic era.
It was around when I started Kill Script. Yeah.
Yeah. It was starting to pop off though already, I think. Like, you were just, you were starting to see some success, because I remember us having some conversations of you were just like, holy shit, this is happening.
Yeah, well, it was so weird, because Kill Script started as and we'll get into that, but Kill Script started as just a passion project, and not like, this is going to be the thing that's going to take me where I want to go.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because I don't remember you ever making like super heavy, gnarly techno music when you were at Icon. So how did you discover that lane of inspiration, and what led you to that?
It's kind of crazy. So my previous project At Last, it was kind of like my portfolio. I treated it as my portfolio. Like I did everything. I did house music, mid-tempo, drum and bass, dubstep, future bass, pop, like everything, R&B, like everything under that umbrella. But it was so hard to kind of focus on something because my brain was like, I'm ADHD as all hell. And it's just like, it's a doom, 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 all, you know, these different ways. And so I just started making movie music. That's the way I don't even call it soundtracks because it's just soundtracks are like its own form, but like movie music, like something you'd seen in a car chase in a movie, you know? And so I started making that kind of stuff, and it kind of was like industrial techno-y vibes, but it was so left field from what I was making for that project at the time that it just wouldn't make any sense to drop it. And so I kept making that kind of stuff. I had like 3 songs, and then the next week I had 5 songs, and that was like, okay, this is going to be an EP for the project because it's really cool and it makes sense. And then the next week there was 10 songs, and then the next month there was 40, and then
it was just pouring out of
80.
you.
Yeah, if I never had that feeling before in one lane.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the history of it since. It's just continuing to just kind of echo and just enlarge over time. So
I find that really interesting. I always talk about how everybody has their own tuned frequency, like a radio dial, that like you got to figure out what your specific frequency is so that you can open yourself up to receive the universe's download of creative ideas and creative energy. And oftentimes we're listening to music that we like listening to it and we enjoy it as a fan. And so we try to make ourselves create that stuff. But oftentimes it's so hard and it's so frustrating to do it. And a lot of people struggle with it. And it's like, well, you know, maybe that's what you're supposed to enjoy, but not what you're supposed to create. And so having the courage to go and explore and kind of turn that little radio dial a little bit and see like, oh, wait, what else is over here? And when you find that moment where it's like, oh, this just comes out easy, I think you're onto something.
yeah, and I think it came at a really good time, or not good because it was a crazy time, but it was right before COVID hit in LA, and those 6 months before, it was just me surviving. Like my management at the time was just like, we're just focusing on this project and nothing else. And I was like, there's this thing that I'm working on, but I don't really know what it means. I don't know what it's going to do. Like it just kind of throwing music, and he's like, no. It's like, we're just going to stay focused. All right.
They shut you down.
Not really shutting it down. Just more like pull the focus back to the center. Like, you know, what we're really working on.
Yeah.
But I had an itch. I was like, there's something there. I mean, I'm writing more music than I've ever written for the main project. It was one of those things. And then COVID hits and I move home. It's like the worst feeling ever in my gut. I'm like, oh my God, I failed. I lived in LA for 4 years. I failed. I'm moving back into my parents' house. Like, this is just, it's over. This is it. And it was the biggest blessing that's ever happened because it just allowed me to work and not worry about how to pay rent and how to survive and not be eating top ramen noodles every night just to eat, you know?
How did that affect you, having that pressure of LA and bills and expenses and all of that?
It made me think that every single song needed to be the one, because that's the way it is. I never worked a normal job. I was able to support myself with being a part of a company that did SoundCloud reposts. And so that's how I made money, and then doing mixing and mastering and ghost production and that kind of stuff. So I'm super thankful that was able to carry me through LA. But yeah, like having that pressure of every song needs to be the one to get you out of this spot that you're in is pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's really insightful. And it's cool to see what was able to actually come through you when you had that space. And really what it is, man, just to get a little coachy right now, I'm out here in Austin with all my hippie coach friends. Yeah. And what they would say is that you actually had a regulated nervous system. Like when you're living in sort of high stress and high anxiety all the time, and we're just like, shit, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. And I got all this, you know, sort of fast paced, dramatic energy around me and all this pressure on myself. Like literally your body there's a certain frequency that your body's living in. And I
Totally.
think that blocks your creativity. That blocks at least a certain type of creativity to come through you. So you're able to breathe, able to relax, able to be like, oh, all right. And
Yeah.
from that place of taking a deep breath and allowing your nervous system to sort of regulate itself, that's when your best stuff was able to actually really flow through you.
Yeah, at the time, like I said, I felt like all my work that I did for those 4 years was over. But now looking back, it was just the biggest blessing ever.
So cool. And so let's talk about Kill Script, because that shit really popped off pretty quick. Like things really started to happen for you really fast. So I would love to hear about that story and what have been some of the ingredients to your success. So yeah, tell me the story.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, it hasn't even been 3 years yet since we put out the first song. It'll be 3 years in technically next March. So 2.5. And it's been an incredible ride so far.
Well, and it seemed like you kind of had what every artist dreams of like a really good team and manager. I don't know if they found you or you found them, but like you got plugged in with a really good team that helped you accelerate that process because they'd already done it before and they kind of had the connections and the systems in place. And, I think that's massive. That's what I think every up and coming artist sort of dreams for. And
Of course, yeah.
So how did you get linked up with them, and what do you think it was about you that had them really say yes and like believe in the project?
Yeah, so COVID hits. I have by then 80 to 100 ideas with work in progress pieces in a folder.
Oh wow.
And a sketchbook of ideas for the vibe of the project, like a full storybook. I had 3 chapters of actual storyline, like a movie script for the project. And I didn't have the name yet. I didn't have Kill Script yet. It was just this folder.
Shit.
Of
so you had
music.
the whole narrative, the whole brand,
Yeah.
already in your head too.
Yeah, the whole storyline. Because I'm obsessed with sci-fi. Everything I do is for sci-fi movies. I have 5 Tron posters around my studio, and
I was gonna ask, what are some of your biggest sources of inspiration in your favorite sci-fi movies?
Tron's number 1 for me. Tron Legacy, because just the VFX are incredible. But then of course Daft Punk it's their only scoring movie they've ever done.
Yeah.
And it was just perfection in my mind. And that's one of the biggest. Blade Runner, Tenet, Total Recall.
Ooh.
There's a bunch. Ghost in the Shell.
How about that new Dune movie?
Oh, incredible.
Dude,
incredible.
that's probably what I think that's the best movie I've seen in the theaters since it came out. That's topped my list.
Yeah,
good shit.
it's incredible. I mean, it's the crazy thing about all those movies and the whole sci-fi culture, I think, is the vastness of it. And I think that kind of translated for me into music with all right, cool, I'm a techno artist, but within that, I can kind of do a lot of things. It's a vast spread that I can do. I can go progressive stuff. I can go heavier. I can go more radio-y, housey vibes. I don't know. It's so much option. And so, yeah, it's plays such a big part in my inspiration.
Was that a conscious thought for you where you were like, okay, I need to create a cool brand and around this as well? Or did it just sort of come to you? Because you didn't really do that with your original project, right?
No, yeah. It kind of just, every song, every idea that kind of flowed out, it was I can literally visualize the setting this is in, exactly where it is, how many people are standing there, if they're looking at me, if they're looking away, what car is coming through. It was so crazy. It was the first time in my whole career, whole time producing music, that I could actually visualize it. It was me making music for a movie before the movie was even made.
So sick. Yeah,
and so that's the way I looked at it. But yeah, so COVID hits, I'm going heavy into that. And my buddy Tucker, who runs Night Mode in LA, he's also a video game streamer. We'd been friends for a while. I bumped into him a bunch in LA. Then we slowly became friends. And he'd always ask me for music on my previous project, and it just never really made sense. And so when I came up with the new project, I was like, oh, this is my moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to sign with the label. This is going to be great. I'm going to have label support from day one. I sent it to him and he's like, this is sick, but it doesn't make sense for the label. And all of my, just, oh.
Like, what the fuck, bro?
Like, I'm like, oh. But then he linked me like a couple weeks later with my now management. So it was that connection was needed. That no was a needed yes to go on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I connected with them and we've been pushing the project since, just going crazy with it. So
and you're just like, hey, here's 80 tracks that I made.
Yeah,
let's do something with them.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know this space at all. I'm just a producer. I have a vision.
Yeah,
this is what it is, but I just don't know how to get it there. And they'd already done a bunch of projects before that were successful, so it was just that natural kind of slotting me in to what they do and going on past that.
Yeah. And have you become more involved on the business and strategy side as you've become just more seasoned and have started walking the path a bit more and aren't just like the, baby producer anymore?
Yeah, to be totally honest with you, it's for a while I was really enjoying kind of just focusing on the music, and I kind of got lost in like, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do this anymore. But recently it's been realigned with focusing on being part of the really big part of the vision and the brand and the business side of it again, because I feel like I lost that for a little bit. And it's weird though, because I was doing all of that with my previous work, and I think it was just the fact that, we'll get into it, but how crazy, like the first show was supposed to be EDC Vegas, like that was the first on main stage, that was like the first booked show for Killscript, so it went so fast, and I think I was just focused on the next thing, and wasn't like enjoying it and being thankful and like going, wow, that worked, that didn't work, like, for going forward.
Yeah. I remember having a lot of those conversations with you. That I feel like that was a lot of our, when we were coaching together, I think a lot of our conversations were around like, let's celebrate that you're kind of killing it right now. Like, let's celebrate that.
Yeah. And at the time I didn't feel like that, like I felt like, oh my God, these crazy things are happening, but like, why? Like why me? I was, the full imposter syndrome was kicking in, and I still deal with it. I think everyone deals with it for sure.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why you?
Just because I work hard. That's pretty much it. I can't really have anything else. Like, everyone has their thing. I can't pull a health problem because everyone has something, I can say like, yeah, I had skin cancer for 9 years when I was a kid. Awesome. Like, support me, but it's not how it works. Everyone has something. So, I think it's just, I work incredibly hard. And
yeah, you do, man. You do. You've stayed super focused. Like, you've really just have had the blinders on. And I think you've done a great job of not getting distracted by all the shiny bells and whistles. And I think that's why when I do my check-ins with you, I'm always half joking, because I know like you're fine. Like, you're not someone that's going to be out there like getting blacked out and like chasing girls and having like a fucking drug problem. Like, you see that though, right? Like the industry,
totally.
It's some real shit, and you see people get lost in it. And I think so many people don't ever reach their full potential or get even a fucking quarter of the way to their full potential, oftentimes because you start to see a little bit of that success, and then you start getting the free bottles, you start getting the attention, you start getting pulled into, and when we talked about the hero's journey in the Art of Flow class, that part of the hero's journey is there's going to be a stage of temptation, and things are going to try to pull you off course. And you've done an incredible job of just keeping the blinders on.
Tried my best. There's been moments where, obviously there's been moments where, I haven't done so well. But
I think you did text me drunk from an airplane one time, actually.
A couple times, probably. Yeah. I've tried to actually slow down a little bit. It's I like being not drunk at the airport. It's a way better life.
Yeah.
But yeah, there have been those moments for sure.
So what's going on with the project right now? Like, you've experienced some really great success in the first couple of years. What are some of the things that you guys are working on now? How do you take this project to the next level? What's in the future for you?
Just continue with the music, trying to continue with the music, bring the story to the forefront. I mean, like I said, back then I had 3 chapters. Now I have like 10 of like what each song means, both like for me and for what could mean for people, but
Yeah.
also what it means in the storyline of Killscript.
So
Um,
how do you actually share that story with your audience? I've had this conversation a few times with artists where they're like, okay, I have this really cool idea, but it's like, what do you do? Do you write a book? Do you make a comic book? Do you put it in your Instagram captions? And, like, how do you actually translate that story? I think that that's sort of a sticking point for a lot of people.
yeah, and it's been something that has been kind of hard for me to do because I don't want it to be so on the surface. Like, so like, I'm just like, hey, here's my comic book,
Chapter
like,
1.
Yeah. I don't see it as that. I see it more as like a feeling. And then later down the road, I want to do a full feature film. And then hopefully those feelings that I kind of set along the way, those people get when they watch the movie or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I've kind of gone about it. And,
I totally see that for you, for sure. Are you guys fucking around with any of the AI stuff for artwork at all, or
not really?
No.
Not really. Yeah, I still am a little iffy on it. I just think I'm not like scared of it, but I just think that if we can support, people that are actually sketching and doing art and visuals and whatever, humans like making really cool stuff.
Yeah,
like we should support that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's cool. Why, like, I could have a lot of the stuff could totally be AI. Also, it's just I like the very defined like cutting visuals, and like it's hard to really get that with AI.
Yeah,
it's very rounded, and
it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, and which is interesting because you would think that a machine would be very precise and but it actually is the opposite.
Yeah. It's still learning how to walk right now.
But I mean, we're only 2 years into it being very like common, so anything, it'll go crazy
for sure. And so you've been playing a lot of shows. It seems like you're out touring pretty often. How's that been? How's the tour life for you?
It's been good. I'm not playing insane amount of shows, but every show has been so rewarding. In June, I played in Denver, in SF, my hometown show, which was unreal.
Sick. Got the whole fam out for that?
Got the whole fam out for it. It was a 4-hour set. They stayed the entire time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was just, that kind of feeling is incredible. In being like seeing people that you went to high school with in the crowd, that's also crazy. And they're just stoked for you. And it's been pretty wild. Just got back from Arizona. Played my first show in Arizona at Dark Star.
Oh yeah. You played with the Relentless Beats out there.
Yep.
The homies. Yeah,
the
I just
homies,
had Jason Ruler on the podcast not long ago. You guys should definitely go check out that episode. A really good conversation about how shows work and how to get booked. And he's a promoter out there at Relentless Beats in Arizona, and really great guy and great episode. Check that out for sure. Love that team.
Yeah, they're great, and they treated me so well. And festivals have been incredible. EDC Vegas this year was monumental for me.
This was your second year playing it?
Second year playing. Yeah. Not in a row, but
okay.
I played 2021 on the main stage, opening, and then this year I played Circuit Grounds opening.
It was massive.
But it was an hour and a half set. It was massive. We don't know an exact number, but I'm thinking within the 20 to 30,000 people. I mean, it was insane.
That's nuts, dude.
Full pyro, and we got custom visuals for the whole show, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. What kind of advice would you have for up and coming artists? What are some of the things that you've learned along the way, being a couple years in now, that maybe you didn't know a couple years ago, that people that are just starting to see some success or reaching towards it might benefit from knowing?
It's going to happen. That's the biggest thing. I think it's the doubt, right? Like, you play something and then it goes great, and then you go a couple months without a show and you're like, well, something's wrong. Like, that went so well. Like, why isn't this happening? Or why isn't this happening? Or why am I not in this spot?
Yeah.
And I found myself doing a lot of that, even though I was playing, some of my dreams. Like, my dream to play Red Rocks, it happened. My dream to play EDC, it happened. It's been one of those things and more recently being thankful for that, and really like we've talked about it so much, but like just being thankful for the moment and like what just happened.
Yeah.
And not to like lose that, because you can never go back to that moment.
Yeah.
You know?
In those moments of doubt, what have you done to keep going and not let that doubt get the best of you?
Shift inspiration, shift where I'm at in that moment. If I'm like, you know, on my bed with my phone in my hand, like scrolling Twitter or TikTok or whatever, and I'm like down about something, put the phone down and go for a walk. Just fully switching up my environment is a big way of getting out of the head. Because if you like you said earlier, like you stay 12 hours in the studio, and for 7 of those hours you're just like hating life, and you're just pissed off that you can't, you know, put 4 kicks in a row. It's like, you know, it's there's no reason to do that. Like, get out, like, you know, realize, all right, this is not the moment. Go do something and come back.
And it comes back to your physiology again, too. Just in that example, when you are slouched over, you're laying down and you're looking at something, it is a very easy way to fall into a more depressive state, even just based off of your body. Talking about like our nervous system, right? But if you get up, you know, splash some cold water on your face, take a cold shower, go for a jog, you move your body, you move the energy out of your body, right? I love the saying that emotions are energy in motion. Emotions are just energy that's in your body that needs to be in motion. But it's when we're not moving is when they get stuck. And it's like, okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to just ruminate and be stuck in my head. And if we want to get out of our head and move, you know, get the energy to move, then we need to get into our body. So taking a walk is like the simplest thing. I do my hot boy walks. That's like, I'm out
I've
there.
been seeing it.
I take my shirt off. I'm like, let me get some sunshine. Like I've been doing them like multiple times a day now, like a couple times. Cause I'm just like every couple hours I need to just like reset my body and get that energy moving. So yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. You know, recently I've never really been into working out. It's never been a part of my DNA. Never liked sports, this was never me. And until like 2 months ago, I was just stress eating whenever I like had a problem, just like go grab a chocolate bar out of the fridge, because my mom's obsessed with dark chocolate. And so there's always going to be a chocolate bar in the fridge.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, just going and grabbing something and sitting down and slouching on the phone, eating something, you know?
Yeah. Or even just being like hunched over at the computer all day.
Yeah, like, all day. Yeah, exactly. Just standing up. I have like these reminders like every 30 minutes just to like stand up out of my chair.
Yeah.
So recently I'm on this new like slowly kind of trying to get into it, like, you know, going for runs and doing push-ups, and, you know, like I'm not the person that's going to go and get in some sweaty gym. This is not me. I know myself. That's sweet that, you know, that people can do that. I can't do that.
It's not for everybody. It's all right.
Yeah. And so I'm more of like, I like to kind of do it behind closed doors and kind of just be by myself, which is weird because I'm a very extroverted person. Like I hate being by myself, but in that moment I have to be by myself.
Well, that's the thing, is a lot of people think that exercising means going to the gym. And it's like, that's one out of 1,000 different ways that you can exercise. And it literally is just moving your body. Dancing is exercising. A reason that people love to go to electronic dance events is because you actually are having a somatic release. You are moving the energy, all of that stuck energy that you've had when you've been sitting at your job from 9 to 5, or you've been sitting around doom scrolling or whatever. It's not only, you get to have connection and friends or whatever, but like physically you're moving all the fucking energy through your body. That's why we come out of it feeling elated. That's a big part of it.
It's that release.
You know,
you hold it in all day, and then
I even did that today. Shout out to my boy Bijou. I fucking love him.
Love that guy.
I'd never met him before until we did a podcast episode together, but he just put out a track today, and I literally put it on, and I was just like, I've been seeing him promote it for a while, and I was excited to listen to the full thing. And I was just sitting on my bed at first, and I was like, fuck this. I was like, literally just got up and danced in my room. I was like, I'm just going to be weird and wild and crazy and move my body. And it's such a simple thing that is so overlooked, but we need to move. When we don't move, that's when we start to get depressed. That's when we start to feel down. That's when we start to be in our head. And so moving can be as simple as dancing in your room. It doesn't have to be going to the sweaty gym, you know? Yeah, you can go
totally.
do some somersaults in your fucking backyard, like whatever. Just move your body, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Shout out, Ben. I love you. I miss you.
He's so rad. He's like the
He's the
nicest
best.
guy in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. He was actually one of the guys to give me my first shot in the EDM world. So,
How so?
so I was making house music under my previous project and just posting stuff on SoundCloud. And he picked up one of my remixes and played it out at EDC Mexico.
What?
And it was like the first thing I was ever posted that was like something related to being supported by another artist. And then we did a song together on Night Bass way back in the day. And
Oh, amazing. Under At Last?
yeah. So, but he's been such a good homie all the way through it, and we
Yeah.
still check in. I was literally just talking to him. I was hoping he was going to come to my Arizona show, but he was away. And but yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, cool. All right, so what other advice do you have for up and coming artists? Keep going, right? The doubt is going to be normal.
No matter what, you're going to have doubt. Yeah.
Push through those moments. Keep going. Don't quit. What else?
Be happy about what you're making. Like, does it make you feel good? Like, for me, it made me envision this world. You know, I love listening to podcasts and learning about people's stories. And I can't remember what podcast it was, but it was two guys talking about the Walt Disney thing, like what Walt Disney made, like from the small little, where they started to what it is now. And kind of like, I don't think I'm ever gonna, who knows, but I don't think I'm ever gonna have a theme park, but to to see like how big it got, and to see that those same visions that he had, I'm kind of having for my music. And whenever I make a song, I can literally see it. It's kind of is my Tomorrowland. Like, it's kind of that area between like possibility and like just got to keep going and keep envisioning.
Were you not enjoying making the music that you were making before? Like, did you lose the inspiration and the excitement about it?
Yeah, and that kind of went hand in hand with the survival instinct in LA. You know, I was just making music just to get a result. It wasn't because I was actually enjoying the process or even enjoying putting it out or enjoying what people thought. You know, it was just like chaos, like in my mind. And I remember at Icon, I was like obsessed with showing people music. Like, I'd literally walk around the hallways with my laptop on my hand, nothing plugged into it, like just full blast, and walking up and down the hallways, like just blasting whatever I was working on.
Just looking for validation
everywhere. And I still do. Like, it's something I've dealt with. And I think it comes from just always trying to do something new and impress in what I'm doing. Trying to be the best drummer. All right, what cool. I went to Berkeley and it didn't work out, so now I'm not the best drummer anymore. Now I'm the coolest producer. Cool. Then I go to Icon. Now I'm not the coolest producer anymore. You know, whole this mind area. It's really weird. It's strange.
What did I tell you in that moment?
You said, don't show anyone your music for 2 weeks, and I freaked out. There was no way. I was like, how? Yeah. How do I not show what I'm working, like what? What?
It's so funny that you bring that story up, because apparently nothing has fucking changed. I just had a coaching call within the past couple of days with one of my clients, and I literally told him the same thing. I gave him the same. I'm like, this is your homework assignment for this next week. You are not allowed to show anybody your music.
Yeah. It was painful. I mean, that was 8 years ago. You know, like it still hurts me to this day. Like, I remember every time I'm like want to show something to someone that I don't know, or that like that's just kind of there. I'm like, oh, Nick, 2 weeks, like just.
Well, and it's interesting to unpack that. Like, what's actually happening in that moment? Like, what is it that you're really wanting by showing your music to somebody?
I think it's the validation of like, is this good or bad? Because I don't know for myself if I'm good or bad.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting. There's a parallel. My dad, when I grew up, he always said, like, I'd want a new toy or something. And he'd be like, just like, we're not going and buying it today. Like, think for a week. And in a week, if you're still really stoked about that toy, we can go get it or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, by then it would be onto something else. Or like, I was like, why do I even need that? So at the time it was like, well, like this one song, it has to be it. So I'm going to show this person. If this person says it's great, then I'm validated and I can move on to like working on another thing and I can put together a great thing that everyone likes. And that was such a big thing for me, the 2 weeks, because it just was able to go like after a day or two of not liking something or being in love with it, listening back and going, what was I thinking? Like, that's not it. Like, let's keep digging in.
Yeah. So how are things different now?
It's still the same. It's still the same. It's still the same. I'll be honest with you. It's still the same. But it's it's definitely still the same. But I think it's easier for me to let go. One thing with my current team has been good is that there's a lot of feedback. Previously I didn't really have that with other people I worked with, where I can send stuff and get in like a brutal, honest truth. Like, this song sucks, move on. Like, sometimes I need that, because because when you work on, I mean, it's your baby, you work on it for 3 or 4 days, straight, and all you can think about is that song, what you can do to make it better, what what's wrong with it. And then someone says it's trash. Yeah. All of that time that you put in, you're like, oh my God, that was a waste of time. Like, no, you're wrong. Like, Well,
and I think what's important about that is you can produce pretty quickly. It sounds like you are starting your project with 80 tracks. You're doing a track in 3 days, so you can throw it away. Like, you've put in the years to be able to be really, really good at producing, so that I just listened to a bunch of your music today. You have, I don't know, a dozen tracks out, 15 tracks out or something. Yeah. How many songs have you also not put out?
Oh,
out of those 15?
100.
Wow.
Probably over those. I mean, I just cleared on my computer like 100 gigabytes of old projects that are just 8 months ago.
That's wild, because I don't think most people are in that position where they're like, this is my one song and I spent months on this one song, and so I can't throw it away. Like, I have to put it out, and
that's how I was before Icon, and even in the middle of Icon, I remember Nightmare. Well, it was funny because Nightmare was the first dude that I saw when I looked up Icon. I watched his Art of Flow video, or series or whatever. And then I met him at Icon, and it was like, there was this like, this guy's really cool. Like, I gotta kind of stay connected with this guy. And he put out this remix. I can't remember who it was, on SoundCloud. And it was like, I just made this in my hotel room before I went on stage. Like, hope you guys enjoy it.
In 30 minutes.
Like, in my mind, I'm like, it takes me 2 weeks to get one drop done. Like, how? And now looking back, most of my songs that are out that you hear were done in a day. Mm-hmm. Not mixed and mastered, but done fully creatively out.
Yeah, and so, you've put in the years to get to that point, right? You have your workflow and your process. I'm curious about, because this is something that comes up a lot for my clients as well, is just time management, and even just being able to sit down and focus and like actually really, really work on a track and not get up and walk away from it. Like, a lot of people are, especially for people that have 9 to 5s, I think that's really the hard part. They're trying to work all day and then put in some hours at night. What kind of tips do you have just for workflow and productivity?
My thing is, I always turn the do not disturb thing on my computer, because that's a big thing. Even one text, one little ding from something, like someone trying to reach out to me, like even if it's like life threatening, I don't want to know. Like, I'm like, if I'm in the zone, like, I don't want anything to pull me out. During COVID, I built this studio / ADU for, with my parents, and my mom was like, we need to do a building. And I was like, well, can I turn it into a studio? And she was like, yeah. And so when the construction process was like zeroing out any noise outside the studio, so because I'm so ADHD, like if there's one thing, I'm like, I hear a dog bark, I need to figure out where the dog is. Like, that's how my brain works. So just like making sure all distractions are turned off. That's a big thing. And then just productivity wise, like setting aside, like, all right, I'm just going to work for 2 hours, like straight. Like, it's 2 p.m. now. I'm going to work till 4. I can get up at 4, but I don't care if there's nothing out of that 2 hour session. It's all good. Like, it's totally good. But I sat in front of the computer, sat in front of my keyboard, twisting knobs and, creating.
I might have talked about this already at some point, but I remember hearing I believe it was Seinfeld, talk about how he became one of the most successful comics because he disciplined himself to not necessarily sit down and write jokes every day, but he would block out time, and he said, I can't do anything except for write jokes during that time. So I might not write, but I have to just sit there then and like not go do something else. I can't get up. That's like the rule. And eventually 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, however long, he's going to start writing jokes, right? But that was like the one rule. And I think that's what's, myself, I'm like super fucking ADD as well. It's like I'm distracted all the time. It's very hard to sit down and just focus on one thing. So I'm trying to implement that as well. But I think that's a good rule. And totally. And you got to find like what that time frame is for yourself too. Like maybe it's just an hour, like I'm right now, my new thing is I'll do like a 50 minutes, like what is like the Pomodoro or whatever they call it. It's like 50 minutes on, a 10-minute break. So I'll do my 50 minutes and then I go do a little hot boy walk. I go move, I go shake, and then I sit back down and
get back in it.
Yeah.
It's weird. I've tried different times at night or different times a day, working from 3 a.m. until 6 a.m. going like that's the worst schedule for me though. I mean, it's great because in the moment I'm super inspired during that time for some reason, but I love sleep, and I know that's gonna be a problem when touring really kicks in too. But I sleep. I'll set my alarm and I'll set 30 different times, like 3:01, 3:02, 3:03, like all the way down because I'll hit snooze and I won't even know.
You're a snoozer.
Yeah, and that's also like something I'm like working through is like just getting up when because it feels better to just get up rather than slowly waking up.
Yeah, dude, I just quit caffeine. I was even like taking Adderall for a while too, and I was like, fuck it. I'm like going to cold turkey, cut everything out.
Yeah,
and I'm just gonna get the fuck up at 6 o'clock, and it's only been a week, but I just
it's a
disciplined myself. Like the first week, especially cutting out caffeine, but it's like there's that moment of when the alarm goes off, and it's just like your brain is like, okay, I can stay here, and I'm very comfortable right now. And it's just this weird, it's like a battle. It's like this millisecond war that you just have to win. Yeah. I found for me, though, the most important thing is you have to have something that you put yourself into right away. So like I just get up and I go straight to the gym. Because I just like, I got to get up and move. Or it used to be like I would get up and at least go take like a walk around the neighborhood, like get up and move right away. If I get up and then try to go straight to work or something, I'll usually just get tired. But yeah, right. I fought that war for many years of just being able to just get up.
Yeah, it's weird. I have a lot of friends that are like, no, why don't you drink coffee? Like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And it's like, I got my water. I've always been like, I only drink water, like forever. I don't drink alcohol really, unless I'm like at a show and I take a shot or like, have a mixed drink on stage. Like all I really drink is water, and I'm good with it. Like my mini fridge is stacked with waters, and
that's good, dude. Don't start, man. Like I had to come to terms with it recently where I was like, I have a fucking real caffeine addiction. Like I was just like, you build up your tolerance to it, or at least I did. I just have a very addictive personality in general. So now just like shifting out of that and really I'm like so focused on just living an optimized life, like cutting out caffeine is a big part of that. Just at least for me, I think some people can manage. They like to have their like 1 cup of coffee in the morning, but if you're like living off coffee or caffeine or whatever your stimulant of choice is, and like, you're running on fumes and it's not real energy. And so learning how to manage your energy systems is, I think, one of the most important things that we can do. Because it's like, how long are you going to do that for? Especially when you start touring and it's just like, you're just putting more stuff into your body. It's like, you're going to burn out.
You're pretty much just staying awake at that point. You're not really sleeping. Because even when you're sleeping for whatever, the 2 or 3 hours that you're going to get on the plane between connections, it's like, you're just kind of within this zone of nothingness.
Yeah. What's your normal flight schedule like? Will you fly out in the middle of the day, or will you like sometimes just leave the show and go straight to the airport kind of a thing? Like, do you ever do that?
Ooh, there's been a couple of those. Yeah. Those are not fun, especially if you drink. Yeah. Because you're still buzzed when you get on the plane and the plane starts moving, and it's not the greatest thing ever.
Dude. I won't name names, but there was an artist that I was managing at one point that like we would do that sometimes. He was just like, yo, I got to play till 2 a.m. The flight's at 6. I'll just fucking stay up, and just like, hang out for an hour and go to the airport ever. I remember one day he was on like the tram that was going from like one side of the airport to the other, and he fucking threw up in it. He was like texting me, he's like, dude, I just barfed in the tram. He's like, I'm never drinking after a show, because he's like, if I just get like drunk at the show, then I can just get to the airplane and I'll pass out.
Yeah, pass out.
He didn't quite make it.
It was a little much. Yeah. There's been some of those for sure.
Yeah,
there's close calls, but I'm mainly like, I don't book any of my flights. I recently learned that that's not a normal thing. Most agencies make you book your flights and then add the artist. I've heard that from a lot of my friends. Most of my friends that tour book their own flights. So I've never had to book my own, but luckily they're usually pretty nice to me and setting it up at like noon or like 1 p.m. so I don't have to leave the hotel until like 11.
Yeah, that's good.
Get at least like 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Well, I will be sure to continue checking in on you at least every 6 months, just to make sure that you're not throwing up on trams and staying in line. Good. Again, I know I don't have to worry about you, dude. I love you so much. I'm so proud of just everything that you've created for yourself, and I'm so excited to see where this all goes. I'm excited to see your movie someday that you create. I'm excited to see you at a festival sometime. I got to see I think it was your first show in LA or your first show as Killscript at Sound. And so I've only seen the little club version. I got to get out to one of these big ones sometime. Yeah.
Yeah. That was Scared Noah. That was this big world that I was going into. Yeah. Now it's like, I just have fun up there. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on today, dude. I'm really excited to share this with the world, and you're the fucking man.